She was just fun and fun to be around. She never had a bad day. Enjoyed being around family, enjoyed sports, extremely active. We were very fortunate that our family is as close as we are. We did everything together. We traveled. As I grew up, we were at ball fields, all of us together, 5-6 nights a week. Lauren was the youngest, so even if she wasn't participating in the sports, she went with us to Ryan's activities, Kristen's activities. She and Kristen started dance and tumbling at what, 3 years old?
She was 3. Mm-hmm. We just did everything as a family. We had, when they told, I always thought, they said keep your kids busy. We kept them really busy.
Yeah.
And
from the time they got out of school until bedtime, man, it was just nonstop. High school, she was cheerleading captain.
And lacrosse captain.
And lacrosse captain. Just a great team player, a great girl to be around.
She was just, I always just said she was just happy to be here. Well, she went to WVU, and, but there were some bumps in the road there. We had to withdraw, she had to withdraw. Her freshman year, she came to us and told us she had an issue. That started her, her junior year of high school. The end of her junior year of high school, she had gotten involved with a boy. First love type deal, good family. We thought no problems, but there was a big problem. So her freshman year of college, he had went away to rehab and all of that, and we had no idea, and she came to us and said, I need help, and it was right before finals, her freshman year of college. She sat down right in this room and looked at us and said, we need to talk, and she said, I need some help. I am addicted to opiates and I can't stop. When she came to us and said, I need help, we were like, oh my God, how did we miss this? Like, all of a sudden you're like, I have a child that has this drug problem. So I found a place, well, there were so many in Florida. I mean, it just popped up when you Googled them. And when I called, they scared me to death because they're like, opiate addiction is a very hard thing to overcome. We got her into rehab within 2 days. I was on a plane with her going to Florida. She went in November. She didn't come back till like almost the end of January. And then we went to a therapist, and he basically told us what to do. It was basically a therapist for every parent in Morgantown. I mean, at that time, there were so many of these kids that were going to rehab. I mean, there were lots of them.
So Lauren was very active. She got up and worked out in the morning, went to her full-time job during the day, worked out in the evening, came out here 4 or 5 times a week to have dinner, but she was always, again, moving, being active. July 5th, Sunday afternoon, she got home from CrossFit, and she called and said, hey, my workout partner believes she was in contact with somebody who had COVID. I have to quarantine until I get a test, or I'm not permitted to go to work. I can't go back to the gym. I'm not allowed around family members. So I said, okay, no worries. Tomorrow morning I'll call around and I'll find a COVID test. We'll get you tested, get you prove that you're negative, and then you can go ahead and resume your normal activity. Well, unfortunately, again, it was the height of the COVID epidemic, and there weren't any tests available on Monday. So all the places I called said, try back Tuesday. So Lauren called me Tuesday, and I hadn't located any yet, but I told her I'd continue to call throughout the day, and they would tell you, whoever you call, say, check back afternoon. So I would check back afternoon, I'd check back in the evening, they still didn't have any. Wednesday was the same thing. Called every place multiple times, and they said, Thursday we'll have them. And so I told Lauren, you got to sit tight tomorrow. So Thursday, July 9th, I think I located one around 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning. And I started calling her and texting her and saying, hey, I found one. Either I'll pick it up or you can swing by and pick it up. But she didn't answer me when I called, and I called probably 3 or 4 times, and I sent her 3 or 4 text messages. And it wasn't like her to ignore the messages. So, and I knew she wanted to test bad. So I told Sherry that, I couldn't get a hold of her, and I said, I'm going to go ahead and leave work and go find her and tell her that, I found this COVID test. Let's go ahead and go get it. And I went by her apartment, and her car wasn't there. So then I didn't know exactly what to do. So I thought, well, I'll drive by a friend of hers house and see if she's over there. So I did. And whenever I pulled down into the street, there's a gravel parking lot on the left. And whenever I started down, I saw her vehicle over on the left. And I thought, thank goodness she's here. As I pulled in beside her, I looked over and I saw her slumped over in the driver's seat. And I called 911 before my vehicle stopped. I jumped out, ran over, opened up the car door, grabbed her, picked her up, and I carried her. It was a gravel parking lot, so I laid her down on the ground. When I laid her down on the ground, I remember sweeping my arm to brush the gravel away and tried to resuscitate her. And I was too late. So right after Lauren passed, I laid on that couch for a week, and Sherry laid on this one. Didn't know what we were going to do. Obviously, we had to support Ryan and Kristen and be there for each other as well as, our parents. But 3 weeks before Lauren passed, right out in the yard, she came out, and I was just out in the yard walking around picking up sticks and just monkeying around, and she came out with me and started small talk, and then she said, Dad, can I talk to you about something? And I said, sure. And she said, Dad, there's so many people struggling with addiction but don't have the family or resources to get help. Do you think one day, whenever you retire, we can do something to help them? Now keep in mind, Lauren was a social worker getting her master's degree in social work, so that's where her passion was. But I told her we would. And she said, no. And she stopped and turned around in front of me and said, Dad, I'm being serious. Can we do this? And I said, yeah. Unfortunately, again, as we talked earlier, Lauren, during quarantine, relapsed and was sold a fatal dose of fentanyl and poisoned, which took her life. So I didn't know which direction to go, didn't know what I was going to do. And then I realized the conversation that we just had. And I thought, Lauren was such a spitball and fireball that when I go to see her again, she's either going to say, good job, Dad, or what the hell did you do? I made a commitment to her that we would help. Our board member, Eddie Boyle, lost his nephew 3 weeks after Lauren.
Mm-hmm. It started 4.5 years ago. In July of that year, unfortunately, about 3 weeks after Lauren passed, my wife and I lost our nephew, Matt Clodges, to a fentanyl overdose. We had had him in rehab. He was home about 72 hours, relapsed, and passed in the basement of our home. And so I was in the process of moving our daughter, Shelby, to Boston, and Mike Cole called and offered his condolences, and we talked, and that was the beginning of Lauren's wish.
Mike and Eddie both came to me and asked me, they knew what I'd been doing with Jacob's Ladder, and so they wanted, number one, to get some assistance setting up a nonprofit and kind of going through the steps that it takes to get something like this off the ground. And number two, with my experience in the not only medical field, but also more specifically addiction treatment, they were hoping that I would come on board and help with some of that.
And so we had numerous meetings to try to find out where we felt we could make the initial impact, where there was something missing in this opioid epidemic in our communities.
Lauren's Wish fills a very specific niche of treatment that wasn't being addressed by anyone.
What Lauren's Wish does, if somebody has been medically cleared after an overdose, what we were finding and what is still happening, unfortunately, is there is a gap in it. If you are not fortunate enough to have the financial wherewithal or the family support, that gets you to maybe the next step that you need in your rehabilitation and sobriety process. A lot of these people after an addiction, or after an overdose, they're medically stabilized, but then they go back to the street.
We take folks from emergency departments, from EMS, from law enforcement. We take folks from referrals. We have folks coming from sober living settings who want to get into treatment. We have people who are coming out of treatment but have nowhere to live, for instance.
And so these individuals can come, there's no charge. We either pick them up or the local hospitals bring them again once they're medically stabilized. And then we have peer recovery coaches, we have counseling, they have, again, a safe environment. It's on the 3rd floor at Hazel's House of Hope.
Our main mission here is to provide a safe, temporary space for individuals seeking treatment for substance use disorder while they're awaiting a bed, to hold them, keep them safe, and instill a little recovery in them while they're here.
Lauren's Wish is a nonprofit, so we don't bill insurance like other facilities. We can take people without insurance, unlike other facilities. We are more individualized because we're staffed by all recovery coaches. Our entire staff is in recovery themselves, and we are able to give them more individualized one-on-one attention and work with them more personally.
I say if you go into a sober living and they don't have a bed, we'll keep you for those days. Our mission, we usually keep them from 7 to 10 days, sometimes longer if necessary, because what we're finding out that finding a sober living, it takes a little longer time.
We do really extensive case management services. I think that kind of sticks us out as well from other facilities. Getting their insurance, if they need an ID to go somewhere. We lay the groundwork on getting everything that's going to remove any possible barriers from them being able to move forward and being successful in their recovery.
Relapse prevention plans, we do individual sessions, we do group sessions.
ABA is addictive behavior awareness. It focuses on manipulation, a non-caring attitude, self-esteem, and irresponsibility. Randall Brown, who created it, is employed here as well and administers it daily, and you can't get it anywhere else.
We want to make sure that they're working on themselves while they're at Lauren's Wish until they get to their next journey.
We transport our clients to Lauren's Wish. We transport them from Lauren's Wish to appointments, anything that they would need while they were here. We transport our clients to treatment. We transport them to sober living. We will pick them up and bring them here and take them wherever they need to go while they're here or when they leave.
We take everybody regardless of where they're from, what their insurance status is. As long as they're seeking treatment, we'll take them in.
The biggest misconception about addiction is that addicts are bad people. That addicts will always be just addicts and nothing else, and we have seen time and time again that that is not true.
People seeing you make it through the fire and the community seeing you make it through the fire and coming out on the other side can give them hope for the next person that comes through.
We have seen addicts on our staff, me included, become successful, happy in life, and so much more than what we were labeled.